Chad, Trevor Bauer, not in fact reinstated in Major League Baseball. We haven't seen him sign with another team. Although he's throwing 99 miles per hour on the radar, and he continues to pitch. Right now, he's keeping the arm loose, in Mexico?
Yeah.
And
La Flama Blanca.
Yes.
He has followed the path of Kenny Powers.
Kenny Powers
perfectly.
is exactly who I think of in this. He keeps receipts. And, one of the accusers of Bauer is who accused him of sexual assault. Well, she's been charged with felony extortion, and he gives details.
One of the women who accused me of sexual assault just got indicted for committing felony fraud against me. Imagine that. Let me catch up to speed. In the last 3 years, 2 women have taken legal action against me. Lindsay Hill started all of this. You may remember her from this video as the girl who set me up and lied to the world in an attempt to take my money. Well, today, the only other one, Darcy Adana Esimonu, has been criminally indicted for committing felony fraud against me and another man. So now she's facing up to 16 years in prison. Her claims are even more absurd than Lindsay's were, so here's some of the details. We had one plain sexual encounter in December of 2020. Nothing that could be considered remotely rough. She initiated it, but don't take my word for it. Take hers. This is a picture and text message she sent me the next morning explaining why she came on to me. And for months afterwards, she repeatedly requested to sleep with me again. For example, this text from January 7th, 2021. At one point, she even requested a sample of my sperm so she could have my child whenever she wanted to in the future. Now, it's hard to keep track, but she's made at least 4 7-figure demands over the last few years. More than a year after the one time we slept together, and only after Lindsay Hill made up her false allegations, Adana retained a lawyer. She then demanded $3.6 million and claimed I forced her to have an abortion, leaving her emotionally devastated and irretrievably damaged by it. But here's the thing, she never had an abortion because she was never even pregnant, and that's corroborated by her own medical records. When I refused to pay her the $3.6 million she was asking for, she made up a bogus sexual assault claim and filed a civil suit against me. In that version of her story, she claimed, for the first time by the way, that there was non-consensual sex, but her texts from the next morning show what actually happened. Remember this text in which she explains why she came on to me? She also claims that instead of an abortion, she actually had a miscarriage, but that's impossible, of course, because again, she was never even pregnant. We now have emails between her and the first 2 law firms that dropped her, in which they acknowledge they never had any evidence to support her claims, but they'll try to get my money anyway. I then shared an audio recording I have in which Adana contradicts her own claims and asks me for money. In the emails, her lawyers agreed that that's insurmountable evidence, and they inform Adana that they can no longer represent her unless she can provide documentation or proof of her claims. Of course, she couldn't do that, so the law firm urged her to consult other law firms with different standards. Now, Adana has filed more than 10 police reports claiming sexual assault or harassment against other men, including at least one other professional athlete. But after the Scottsdale police completed their investigation into her claim against me, she's the one being indicted for felony fraud. And not just against me, against another man as well. She made up bogus sexual assault claims and attempted to extort him too.
Craziness. And hear from Bauer there. You see the felony charges with one of the accusers of sexual assault against Bauer for felony extortion. I hear the receipts that he's reading off, the tweets, the screenshots, all that. Donating sperm, discussing the $3.6 million payment that he refused to pay. Then all of a sudden there's sexual misconduct allegations that leads to suspension. And one that Rob Manfred has the authority to punish players for just cause. And they said there was beyond a reasonable doubt threshold required by law enforcement with all of this in 2021. And MLB felt Bauer deserved to be suspended far longer than any player ever for a domestic violence violation. And so they have it reduced. But Chad, this takes us back, or me back to our discussion earlier this week about having the credential pulled and how that's not much of a story whenever you have media that wants to have free press and then credentials are pulled and everyone's silent about it. This is a much bigger story than what is being covered on the national scale of what it was compared to what it is now. And it's pure craziness behind the scenes with all of this.
It really sort of pokes holes in the whole believe all women movement when it comes to sexual assault and rape. This is extreme even to what anything I ever would have thought would have been a thing. right? Now, I believe in due process. I believe in two sides to every story. I believe in evidence. I believe in hearing people out and all those things. But if you were to tell me that there is essentially a ring of women, is what it sounds like, in Scottsdale, Arizona, that's up to this level of criminal activity for extortion through sexual means with professional athletes, I would have thought that was even a little bit extreme. And then I see these text messages, these recorded video samplings, and all of the evidence that Trevor Bauer has gathered against his accuser, where I don't see any other way, but she's going to prison for felony extortion in this case. This is hideous behavior from this woman, from the initial accuser. And if this is something that's normal, I'm with you, Hutton. The same energy that was shown in going after Trevor Bauer by Major League Baseball, by the media, by everyone when the initial allegations were levied against him, I want the same energy and coverage to felony extortion charges going on. And all of the evidence that he presented in that video and that will be presented in a court of law against this woman. Because this is outrageous behavior by her. And I'll go back to this too, and this should not be the case, but this is not good for anyone involved, right? Because this will even give more fuel to people who want to automatically dismiss women who have valid claims of sexual assault against them, because they're going to remember this more often than not. Just like the flip side of that, if you only knew the Trevor Bauer story, if you don't watch a show like ours, you don't watch other media that's covering this part of the story, and you only knew about the allegations, then your mind may flip to automatically believing every woman when they make an allegation against a man of sexual assault. Neither one of those stances are correct. But what is correct is this woman going to prison. If all of this that he just showed is true and it can be proved in court, she should go to jail and it should be covered the same way the allegation was covered.
Bauer last pitched in Major League Baseball in June 28, 2021. And we know his talent. He's a former Cy Young winner in the 2020 season. Signed a massive contract with Los Angeles. Of course, they paid him to leave that final year of his deal, and then he was suspended, and then the arbitration reduced his suspension to like 120-something games overall. But it's also in the league where pitching is of the utmost importance, the guy on the mound. Here's one of the best, and he's still pitching at a high level, and he's proven that he wants to play. You know, Kaepernick always talked about wanting to play, but never actually did anything other than just talk about it. Bauer's actually, keeping the arm loose in a league down in Mexico. What was the name of the team?
I don't know. I just joked that he's La Flama Blanca.
Like Kenny Powers.
Yeah.
I mean, for life, I figured that was actually a team name down there, too.
Well, no, I think his next step is probably to move to Myrtle Beach and play minor league baseball and befriend someone named Shane, played by Jason Sudeikis, much like Kenny Powers did in the following season of Eastbound and Down.
Do you think he'll be signed?
He should be.
But do you think he will? I don't think he will be.
If he has not been yet, I can't sit here in good faith and say I believe he will be signed by someone, because for the life of me, I don't know why he hasn't been signed yet. I'll make a call to my favorite team, the Atlanta Braves. You just lost Spencer Strider for the season.
Yeah.
If you're looking to plug and play someone else in the rotation, bring Trevor Bauer on to a great clubhouse locker room culture like you have there in Atlanta with the Braves, right? I can understand that baseball players and management, they don't like this guy. This is deeper than just the allegations. They don't like him. They didn't like his vlog.
No.
They don't like his personality.
MLB didn't.
His teammates don't really like him. So there are some issues there. But if you have great culture, great players, great leadership like the Atlanta Braves, and you could bring in someone that you think would go along with that clearly has talent to still play in the majors, absolutely give him a shot.
Chad.
And let him fill a rotation spot.
I mentioned the steroid policy is different for NFL compared to Major League Baseball. Gambling policy certainly is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is the sexual misconduct accusations. Think about, because in this sports landscape, if you can play and you can help a team win, they will overlook a lot of things. Go look at the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where it's been settled on behalf of Deshaun Watson and the accusers here. Meanwhile, you have an accuser of Trevor Bauer, for which he was suspended, now charged with the felony extortion. You know, like it's the opposite.
Yeah,
and still,
it's what leads me to believe it's not just that.
Well,
him.
and it wasn't. You know, he's played for several different teams, and everywhere he pops around or has, and he's talked about it. You know, he kind of rubs people the wrong way. You're right. You know, behind the scenes during the COVID year on his vlog, he's got the camera going as he's going into the stadium, and they're testing as you go in and all that stuff, taking you behind the scenes. I loved it. Chad, I think I made you watch the first episode or whatever that I'd watched because it was behind the scenes that you don't see in MLB. And that's, you like him or hate him. I mean, it's a personality that normally Major League Baseball doesn't allow you to meet or see. And he was doing it on his own.
Yeah.
A lot of the players don't like it either.
If it's only about the allegation that has now been proven to be false, then baseball is extremely hypocritical because I'll go back to my favorite team, the Atlanta Braves. Marcell Ozuna beat up his wife and got 20 games suspension. Then he got a DUI after that. And I just watched Marcell Ozuna hit a 3-run bomb on an 0-2 count to beat the Marlins, his former team, on Sunday. So he's having a chance to play and play well for the Braves. Now we have false accusations being levied against Trevor Bauer, and the dude has been relegated to the Mexican League. And that's why I just believe it has to be way deeper.
And then he went and pitched in Japan, too.
Yeah, it has to be almost it feels like a guy who's been blackballed by every team in the league because they don't like him.
Well, but a great example is another MLB player. He mentions that. It's not just one. It's not just Bauer. There's another player involved in this with this woman on these felony extortion charges.
Yeah.
And I would also ask, where does he find these people? You've got someone claiming they're having an abortion when they weren't even pregnant. You've got, hey, can I have a sample of your sperm so I can have your child? That's what he's saying in air quotes. It's nuts.
I don't. To me, it's a
crazy.
stretch to believe that there's like this, for lack of a better phrase, of this harem of women who are out there just trying to trap pro athletes.
Well,
but you always hear these rumors and jokes about NBA All-Star Weekend. And don't hang out in the lobby during NBA All-Star Weekend because it's not straight up prostitutes.
No.
But it's a group of women that will go to that city with the specific goal of trapping an NBA player and an NBA All-Star. And I think that Scottsdale, Arizona is probably a pretty fertile ground for a group of women if they wanted to do something like this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sensing with all this.
One of the women was from San Diego, I believe.
San Diego.
There were two other unnamed, I believe, from the Washington Post at the time said there were two other women from Ohio. Of course, he played for the Reds.
Then go there, though.
Is that where he met them?
Yes.
But he's doing, there's multiple women that he's got screenshots of like this, Like, it choked me out was one of the quotes.
It's a very sad existence.
Well, so you mentioned
it's
the
very
women
sad
in the
of these women.
hotel.
First off, they're criminals, the ones who are doing this, but it's also just to me very, very sad.
So I've traveled with an NFL team, and this goes on wherever. You have a separate entrance at a hotel, and you go up to the second level normally, and you get your hotel key. You're already checked in, and you go straight to your room. Well, everything's roped off next to the back escalator to the second floor. Like a big conference room. And there were always 3, 4, 5 women dressed to the nines standing around outside that little barricade, just like hotel guests, Now, some of them were legitimately, friends or maybe a family member, whatever, wife, girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
Others you could tell.
Cousin.
Others you could tell.
Niece.
And I never saw any interaction with it at all. But, I mean, they're there for a reason, just hanging out around. But there's a reason why most of the time you get to the hotel and you immediately have a position meeting. Immediately. Because you can't go back down to the lobby and mingle.
Yeah.
and you have your dinner on your own at 7 o'clock with your massive per diem that the NFL gives out to the players.
Well, every rookie symposium has had, courses on women, like the ones we're talking about, right? They all do education on that, how to avoid it, for lack of a better term, better phrase, getting trapped by some, fast woman out there that's only out to get money out of you or get something from you. They've been guarding, and I say by they, I mean leagues have been trying to guard against this with their players for years. So it's certainly a thing. But when it is exposed in the daylight the way Trevor Bauer just did, it's jarring to me. Like you said, talk of freezing sperm and getting a sperm sample so I can have your kid whenever I want. Man, oh man, these women have some
But we know that's not the reason why she was asking for that. Just knowing through this, right?
Yes, mental, emotional issues, however you want to phrase it. There are some really bad things going on, and there needs to be an example set, and I hope this woman goes to prison.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy how they find, and I mean, it sounds like online, It's almost like that. Like,
are they on Hinge?
Backpage?
Is there a certain... Yeah, Backpage. That's a good one. What is the...
I don't know.
Look, I only know Apple and Spotify in terms of platforms, so I'm very ignorant to what platforms are out there.
Do you have a third now?
What is the one, Raya? Raya's the famous one.
I don't know.
I think Raya's the one where you have to be like accepted into it to get on that one. We go to our dating app correspondent, Davey Hudson, who's got the latest on the dating app where one can get extorted.
Does this sound like a dating app or a Backpage.com to you?
I could easily see something like this occurring on a dating app. I believe the 3 biggest dating apps still to this day are Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder at the moment.
What about Farmers Only?
I haven't seen any of their terrible commercials lately. I'm sure it's still out there.
Not enough farmers anymore.
I'm having a real problem
Maybe
with
I
how
just
Davey
moved
looks
to-
taller than
to
us right
more of
now.
a urban
On
area.
this optical illusion, like I'm finding myself almost wanting to stand up because Davey's higher than us for the first time
I'll scrunch
ever.
down a little bit.
I don't like it. I get real uncomfortable around dudes who are super tall. Preston, who works here, every time I talk to him, like I move in like a different way because
Undertaker.
I feel like something bad might happen to me the way I have to look directly up to address him. And I'm 6'3", so I'm not looking up to a ton of people.
Yeah.
But when I look up to 6'8" Preston, it bothers me, much like looking up to Davey right now. On
He's
this.
literally standing outside
Preston
the
just
door.
walked around. Yeah,
I've got to tell this.
wrestler out
I've got to
there.
tell this story. So that
He
there was
heard me talking about. There he is. See, large
there
man.
was a concert or something here recently, and there was the first time I've ever seen this. Preston turns around. He's what? How tall do you think he is?
He's 6'8",
6'8".
I would say.
He turns around, and there is a woman taller than him, and he's looking up at her.
No way.
And he was just,
No way.
He was stunned. He was eye to eye with her. Like,
No way.
I swear. And so I just
Camila Cardoso, was that this? Was that this
Nicole
concert?
Bass was here.
Oh,
No,
my goodness.
I immediately just on a beeline straight over to Preston. I'm like, dude, this was that the most awkward turnaround, like stunning moment of your
What?
life? He's like, that was bizarre.
Yeah.
He looked down to see if he was like she was standing on a slope.
Well, now finally he knows what it's like to be everyone else that talks to him. How the turntables have turned on him.
Davey, if you had to guess, which of the apps would you think he would go on if he's looking for this kind of craziness?
Tinder.
Tinder.
Really?
Okay.
I would think you'd need to get.
The algorithm is there.
I guess not. I mean, this is not high end. These are not high end people we're talking about.
I don't
with
know.
these women, but I think it would be like if I could infiltrate Raya or however you pronounce it, then I can really sink my teeth into some celebs. I can find someone with great net worth,
Okay.
and I can extort them if I get into one of those.
There's
If you're just some exceptionally hot woman and you have a job, I feel like you could probably work your way into one of the high-end dating apps.
there's a good chance he was doing something like that, but still with all the situations that seem to have unfolded throughout the last couple of years with him and his experience, he's just got terrible taste in women. There's no other way around it.
I mean, he's got someone. I would think you're being catfished if you have someone that sends you, "Can I sleep with you?" and a frown on the.
Well, I mean, the dude is
Can I
on.
sleep with you?
You know, I don't think I'm even speculating here. I think he's on kind of a Wilt Chamberlain path here because if these are the two examples of being extorted and the way they're talking to him, how many other women has he had? And how
mean, he
many
has-
times is he doing this? Like, these are 2 high-profile instances, but how many other hookups like this has he had where we're not hearing a thing about it? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm guessing hundreds. Hundreds. Not thousands like Wilt, the stilt, but hundreds easily.
I mean, he's got pregnancy tests and receipts on that he's showing.
Your
on this.
pregnancy report is
Yes.
in. So many Anchorman references every time you say a word. San Diego, pregnancy tests, pregnancy reports.
But these women cost him his career.
Yeah. Yeah, and his attitude. I think it's both. I think they've had a convenient way to not play him. And that because honestly, Hutton, because everyone wants to play the talent, right? If you're talented enough
Yeah.
and you can help someone win,
but he kept
you're
being
going to
signed.
play. He can't get signed, which makes me think there's something deeper
But
going
but
on.
he kept getting big contracts.
Yeah.
Teams continued to trade for him. And then
Until he didn't.
and then the Dodgers gave him the $100 million 3-year deal, you know? So it's not like they would have known about all this, even though every place he had been, no one liked the behind-the-scenes camera and all that other stuff. It's just it's a bizarre story that's not covered enough. And here's hoping he gets back in the league because he can help
hope
a
so,
team.
too.
That's what it comes down to.
And I hope he reveals where he met these women so we can once and for all decide what app it was.
Yeah.
What app Davey needs to avoid.